Hi, welcome to NWOBHM Guitar Tuition. So, got another classic album inspection for you today. Remember to share and subscribe. So, today, September 25th, 1981, Saxon released their fourth album, Denim and Leather. So, this comes as a run of three classic albums Saxon made, two in 1980, with Wheels of Steel and Strong Arm of the Law. I think Strong Arm of the Law came out in November, so basically a 10-11 month gap. And they produced this one, probably, putting out three classic albums in virtually 18 months. A hell of an achievement. And this album's basically, I think it's a case of it ain't broke, don't fix it. It's continuing the sound and strengths of those two records. So there's 9 tracks on it. It was actually recorded in Geneva, I'm just looking here, and then they went to Switzerland to Polar Studios in Stockholm. So a very famous studio. Obviously ABBA were part owners of that. The Polar Music Group, Stig Anderson, and Led Zeppelin did In Through the Outdoor there. ABBA did various albums and some other stuff, famous stuff as well. So probably state of the art. I've got to say, I don't think the recording state of the art on this. I think the Strong Arm of the Law album had more punch, particularly on the drums and bottom end. There's a slight change in personnel in this. Nigel Thomas, their manager, comes in as co-producer. When you read up about Saxon history, Nigel Thomas he's sort of a bit of a, not a shadowy figure, but he did, a good job for the band, but maybe it could have been a bit better. But yeah, this album made #9 on the UK charts, and it contained pretty much four kind of staples that Saxon continue to play today. And it's the last one, studio album of the classic lineup: Pete Gill, Steve Dawson, Graham Oliver, Paul Quinn, and of course Biff Byford. They do the Eagle Has Landed album live after this. Pete Gill leaves, and then they get Nigel Glockler in, which I think's an improvement actually. Glockler, Pete Gill's a very good drummer, but Glockler, real class metal drummer, and brought a lot to the band. But let's go through the tracks anyway. Just got the list up here, but it opens with like 4 minutes long, Synth Princess of the Night. Not much you can say about this track. It's a heavy metal song about a train, and it shows all the sort of classic tropes of sax. Biff picking a sort of unusual subject and literally kind of telling the story of that subject. He doesn't kind of deal in metaphors and symbolic imagery as much. Biff, if he's going to write a song about a train here in his childhood visions of it, he will do that. It's got a cool riff, really cool kind of lead break, and it's a staple. Like I said, they still play it today. And then into another classic track, probably my favourite track, and one of my favourites of the album, Never Surrender. So this has got a pretty kind of basic riff, but I really like the lyric, good Biff lyric, and then it's got a real kind of shout it out chorus. It's really anthemic. I remember going to see them live when they did this, and the chorus really got the crowd going. It's only 3 minutes 15. So again, all the tracks on this album, they're under, generally under 4 minutes, but there's a couple over 5 minutes. The actual album length is 38 minutes. Pretty typical for the time, keeping in with the era that we were in, where albums don't often go over 40 minutes. And then the third track is not as well known. I had a listen to the album before, and Out of Control. It's actually a pretty cool track, this. It's kind of got an AC/DC vibe. It's got a catchy chorus, and the bridge has got a cool harmony part. It's a good sounding track as well. Like, I think the main thing on this album for me is the guitars are a little thin. I mean, Saxon always do have a thin guitar sound. They don't get any beef into it really until A Power and the Glory album, which I think is potentially a better album than people realise, because it has superior production. It's their best produced album of the 80s, I think. But this is still a cool track, and Paul Quinn and Graham Oliver, formidable guitar team with their own take on the dual guitar thing. So that's a kind of filler track, but it's a good one. I was enjoying it. And then next one, again, is a track that's not as well known, but Rough and Ready. I really like this. I'm Rough and Ready Tonight, God Help You. 4 minutes 51, bit longer. Again, just a typical kind of Saxon, kind of like Never Surrender, kind of a parent track to that really. It's got kind of street life imagery, going out in a gang, having a fight. You can picture Biff, strutting around Barnsley, having some Foster's Lager, and then, getting handy with some people. Good stuff. And then side one on the original album, Play It Loud, this 4 minutes 11. I think this is the weakest track on the album. I've got a feeling the Tommy Vance Friday Rock Show used this as a kind of linking piece on the show, and they changed it to play it loud, maybe on the Friday Rock Show. I can't remember the lyric, how they changed it, but I have a feeling Saxon might have licensed this, but don't quote me on that. It's in the distant past of Friday Rock Shows, and I don't have any recorded. So I suppose side one goes a little quieter. You've got those two opening tracks, and then it's got 3 tracks people don't know as well. But it's a consistent side one, apart from maybe the last track. So side 2 opens with like a really famous Saxon track, and the band's played on. Production sound on this is a little fuller. Of course, this celebrates the classic 1980 Monsters of Rock Festival. I think it's quite interesting that Biff's kind of, it's only a year after they've played Donington, and then he's already kind of singing about the moment he's kind of recognised surreptitiously, they're in this zeitgeist moment, they're in this new wave of British heavy metal. It's the peak year, 1980. And then he's reflecting on that very quickly a year later, and I think that was a really cool move by him. It's only 2 minutes 48. This was actually quite a big hit for Saxon. I'm sure I'm at number 11 or something, but a lot of the reason for that was as well because they issued it on picture disc. And that was a savvy move that record labels did back then. Issue something on picture disc, release it at the right time, and it'll get more sales traction because fans will want to buy it for the picture disc. And then Midnight Riders next. I think this is a great deep cut off the album. It's actually the longest track, 5 minutes 45, because it breaks down to a really cool kind of more melodic picked middle section, and it's got a great solo from Quinn and Oliver. I think they trade off, but I could be wrong. Obviously, I think most people recognise Paul Quinn as the superior player in the team with a sort of better vibrato. I really like this track. It's about their first American tour again. Biff talking about what they've done in 1980. So, the Monster of Rock is probably August, and then I imagine they may have been to America after that or before. They're talking about riding the Silver Eagle and stuff like that. Mentioned about truck stops, things like that. Quite interesting because on the first album, Biff sings about Americana like Freeway Mad, but they won't have actually been to America. That's not uncommon for bands back then, is to sing about racing cars down the freeway or something like that when they haven't even been to America. But what's interesting about this song is Saxon and Biff have been to America, and Biff can actually talk about the culture of driving along the long roads, the truck stops, and what it's like to hit a city and unload your gear and things like that, and play in the big venues. But this is probably my favourite track on the album. I think it's on the Eagles Landed album, or maybe it's not. I'll have to check that. Fire in the Sky is, which is the next track. So this is another classic metal topic of the early 80s, nuclear war. Biff's warning about how we won't have a chance, predating Threads. It's a good track. This is another really good album track. Pete Gill's drums are really good on this. Again, when the guitar opens up the track, you can hear like how kind of thin it is. I wish they could have, compared to Priest and Maiden, which have a fatter bottom end on their 1981 releases. It's a bit of a shame for the band. The production didn't take a notch up, but the songs get this album through. It is a strong record. That's 3 minutes 37, and then it finishes with the title track, Denim and Leather. It's got a drum intro. Again, sorry to go on about the sound, but again, you can hear the drums don't have the punch I think they should, that they did have on Strong Arm, probably Wheels of Steel. That's another classic track. They still play it live. And I think that's the thing. This album, it's got 4 absolute staples of the Saxon live show. Then you've got 2 really great deep cuts in Midnight Rider, Fire in the Sky, which got rolled out live. Lesser tracks, Out of Control, Rough and Ready, which actually really cool album tracks, and Play It Loud, not as good, but it is a 9 out of 10, and it's a lot of people's favourite Saxon album. I think my favourite of the trilogy is still Wheels of Steel, closely followed by Strong Arm, then this. Power and the Glory, like I say, I think people need to go back and listen to that and maybe assess it, because Glockler does make an impact, and Jeff Glicksman's production really helps that. And I've always said I think that's something that was harder for Saxon. They didn't have the management that Iron Maiden had, and they didn't have a production partnership that Iron Maiden or Judas Priest had. And at this time they were probably bigger than Priest and bigger than Maiden in the UK. But I think for them to kind of grow and get more success outside of that, although they were very successful, I think they needed to make kind of better sounding records, or get somebody who could assess their sound in the right way, and I'm not sure that happened. And they kind of lost their way a bit with Crusade and went more commercial. And I think that's summarising the title of this album, Denim and Leather, Saxon, the reason for the popularity in the UK. Remember, like I said, they were more popular than Priest and Maiden at that time in terms of record sales. Probably only people who could equal them was Motorhead, and I think they're both really truly blue collar bands. Down and Dirty, Down and Leather, you know, Friday night, hit the bar, go to the gig. They captured that groundswell of the movement, and this album represents that and celebrates that. You know, it's a celebration of kind of the end of NWOBHM, really. I mean, I think of NWOBHM finishing in 1981, really. Bands that came after that tended to be influenced by other NWOBHM bands. So it'll be truly NWOBHM. You've got to be in that period. For me, it's my opinion, 79 to 81. Okay, so that's Denim and Leather. Yeah, classic Saxon album, released 40 years ago today. Hope you enjoyed that. Remember to share and subscribe, and I'll be back with some more classic album reviews. Thanks very much. Bye.